All right, it's time for Ask Junior. Let's get right to it. You sent your questions in to social media. Andrew's going to go through them. Let's get started.
Shout out to everyone on Twitter. There were a lot of good ones this week. This first one, I was thinking about this morning, and so I definitely want to ask it. This is coming from Mike. What are your thoughts on the sharing of SMT data?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It doesn't bother me bad, like watching another driver's data. I guess the problem or the frustration is that, oh well, we can all see each other's drive and how they're steering, gassing, braking, all those things, and I can just copy that and I can go out there and we're all just going to run the same. I think that there's probably some truth to that. The drivers, if the drivers don't like it and they don't want that much information being shared, then fine, take it away. But I'll say this. We used to watch Kevin Harvick's we could get information on Kevin Harvick's throttles, his braking, his steering, back when they were kicking butt, right? And they were a Chevrolet team getting assistance from HMS. And it didn't matter. You couldn't replicate it. And when I would go somewhere to run the wall and be really good, Jimmy and Jeff Gordon and those guys would look at the stuff and they wouldn't, they would look at it and go, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to drive my car the way I want to drive it. And so, we've been able to look at this information for a long, long time. Now, it's much easier now. Literally, it's in your hands during qualifying, during practice, live. You're watching it. You're getting it at speed. Whereas in the past, we would have to kind of downloaded it and look at it between practices and so forth. But I don't know. I think so.
Doesn't matter as much to you.
There's other things that need to be concerned. There's other concerns, I guess, that are more serious.
One thing I thought was interesting with the SMT data, Larson was testing at Indy last week, and he's like, man, I wish I had these IndyCar drivers' SMT data.
Yeah.
So I could learn. I guess, for new people, it might be helpful information. Yeah. I don't know. I found that was interesting from the IndyCar side. He was talking about that.
I guess that, the way the SMT data is delivered is really easy. Right, and so it's so you can watch and really apply it, Whereas in the past, the PI data and the stuff that we used, it was basically a graph line, right? And you're like, okay, he's in the throttle here, he's off here, but the SMT data is more virtual, to where you can literally see, okay, I know I can take what I'm seeing and go right to the track right now in this next run and go do this, go try it. And they can get it while in the car, right? So it's probably a little too easy, right? SMT data. Maybe it would be, you couldn't stop them from being able to go home Sunday after the race and look at it during the week, right? Or go over it, and that was always going on before. But now it's like in your hands and in the moment, in the middle of the practice or qualifying, and being able to go out there and try to do something somebody just did on the racetrack is pretty convenient.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
This next question is coming from, their account name is Do It for Dale.
All right.
And they wanted to know, did you have a favorite? This is fitting with Talladega coming up this weekend. Back when you can communicate with other drivers during the race, were there any unique, back and forths you've had with other drivers while you could communicate with them during the race?
Yeah, I don't really remember a bunch. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Damn, dude, that was fucking 10 years ago. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
How often like
Oh, wait, there was this one conversation that I had with Tony Stewart, and it went verbatim like this. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you had me on the hook. I thought you had something there for a second.
No.
Do you wish they would bring that back?
I think for Talladega and places like Talladega, Daytona, where pushing, drafting, all those things, I think that it was very compelling. So there was like almost like a switchboard on the dash in a list of, a handful of drivers, 8 to 10 drivers, and we'd go into the weekend, they'd say, who you want on your radio? And I go, all right, I want my 4 teammates, and then I want these 4 or 5 drivers. And if you if you found yourself racing around those guys, you could switch to that channel and talk to them. Now, it was so unnatural and foreign to do that, you were hesitant to just jump on somebody's channel and go, hey, it's Junior.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of their shit, right? You're going to interrupt with whatever they're doing, and they may be talking to another driver. There may be other drivers on there. You don't know. And so it wasn't just as free-for-all. I was at least a little reserved to even use it. But I do remember a couple times, not specifically what we said, but like going to somebody's channel and saying, all right, man, hey, we're going to run together. You're behind me or you're in front of me. This is what I need you to do. This is what we ought to do. This is what I'm thinking about might happen or whatever, It would be good, I think, compelling to be able to have the drivers communicating with each other during the race, right? Think about the smack talking and so forth under caution and whatnot. I mean, surely we would take a while to be able to get over there'd be some hesitancy, right, to jump on somebody's radio because somebody, the crew chief, owner, whatever, would be like, this sucks. I don't want this driver coming over here running his mouth or whatever, right? And so, I don't know. It would be interesting, but it would be good TV. You would have all kinds of sound bites and conversations happening otherwise that aren't, that might drive a lot of great storylines. And, man, in the heat of the moment, imagine what some people would say to each other, right?
Yeah. I mean, you said you could pick anybody. Were there people that, like, could you, as someone receiving that, block anybody? Or is like someone, oh, man, this guy's so annoying. He's got access to my radio. Like, this is the worst.
I don't know.
No?
Anything's possible.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to see it come back then.
Okay.
I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
This next question, very simple, from Rob. When you're drinking beer, bottles or cans, what's your preference?
Cold? I don't have a preference.
No?
No. Do you?
I always like the bottles.
Wow.
Glass bottles a little more.
I'm a can guy.
I don't know. For some reason, I think it tastes better.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I just think there's something about a hot day with a can. The bottle to me, I'm like, I don't want to worry about it. I drop this and then I got, no, give me a can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever's cold.
Whatever's
cold. I don't care. Cans are more convenient. Cans are crushable, right? If you got if you're going to drink quite a few, I got one of those little hand.
Oh, the
crushers. Oh, the crushers.
Things. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, bottles fill up the trash can.
Yeah, they're loud.
Loud. You got to take it out.
Dangerous.
Ding, ding,
Yeah.
bang, bang, bang.
Exactly. Exactly.
Crushed cans, man. How many crushed cans can fit in a traditional,
Thousands. It's got to be.
5-gallon trash can? Right.
My college roommate had one of those crushers, and he would put them in these big bags and then bring them to the recycling plants and get money back just to buy more beer.
Yeah,
I think if you're a beer drinker on the regular, you got to have a crusher mounted on the wall.
I'm going to have to get one then.
Yeah.
I got one in here.
My right foot's typically my crusher. Just like that.
Yeah.
We got time for one more question. This one's coming from Facebook from Scott. You were talking about, hey, sometimes you just need to drink some beer, smoke some cigarettes. That's the best way I prepared for a race. Do you know of anything that your dad did to prepare for like racing?
No.
No.
No, he just got in the car, got in the car and went.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I drank beer and smoked cigarettes to prepare for racing.
But it's like a way to unwind,
That's different. Yeah, that's after the race.
I'll rephrase my question.
I think,
prepare for the race.
I think what Dad did instead of drinking, well, Dad did drink beer, but he wasn't a smoker. He never smoked. What Dad did was just he drank beer with his buddies, and then he rode a bulldozer. So like he would go spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, moving dirt and shaping his land. He had property, and he loved to build a dam or clear a field, or, you know, there was always a job and a thing to do that, you know, that had to. He wasn't like, this property wasn't making him money, but it was a project of his, something to piddle with.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he was always clearing land, pushing trees over, and we're going to make this look a certain way, and I'm going to, you know, we're going to eventually, I'm going to build a house over here, so I got to clean this up and this and that and the other, and yeah. He had this log house down on the backside. So if you drive by DEI, in between the buildings, there's a driveway that goes down in the woods, and that's where he lived. He built this log cabin down in there. And even though that, I believe that even though that was an amazing house, for whatever reason, he had 100 acres down the street, about a half a mile from DEI, that they were also planning to eventually build there. And so when he passed away, I asked Teresa, I said, I want to buy land. Will you sell me this 100 acres that's sitting down on the side of the road? And she wouldn't sell that to me. She wanted to keep it, which is fine. And so I ended up buying on the other side of town. But, yeah, Dad loved land, loved owning land, and he had like a vision of how he wanted that land to look, and literally would move tons of dirt to shape it how he wanted.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. This
so
week
that
on
was
Ash
his.
Junior.
That was the way he kind of
He
cooled down.
blew
after
off
the race.
steam.
Yeah. All right. Do y'all know one? Do you know the story about him flipping the bulldozer?
No.
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
No.
Let's hear it.
So a long time ago, this Dad was still alive. I was writing columns, and I've read a column or two on this show. I used to write columns for the Grand National scene, Winston Cup scene, whatever it was, and I wrote about a dozen of them. But I wrote one about him, and I was gonna publish it. I don't know where it ended up going. I think it ended up going in the book with Jade Gurse, my rookie year, driver number 8. But I wrote this column about Dad, and I'm gonna tell you, man, if you've never read it, you need to read it. I sat down and wrote that in less than a half hour by myself, and so it talks about how great Dad is, and so in that article, I was in my little S10 pickup truck, about 16 years old, and I was driving down to this log cabin as he's building it. He's on a bulldozer in front of the log cabin clearing some land, and he pushed this tree over, a giant freaking tree, and the roots of that tree come out of the earth and flip that. When the tree goes down, right, this big tree falls down, the roots come out of the ground, flipped over a giant bulldozer onto its side. I just pulled down and stopped getting home from school, and I'm sitting there watching him do his work for like 5-10 minutes. And as soon as he recognizes me or sees me, maybe he shuts it down, climbs down, we BS a little bit. But he's sitting there running this bulldozer, and all of a sudden it flips over. I jump out and I run over there, and he comes out from under it, and he's like, "Hurry, get in your truck. Let's drive. We're going to run. We got to go back to the farm. I got to flip this thing back over. It's gas and all this stuff, leaking out of this tractor." So he jumped. I thought, great, he's not hurt. He jumps in the truck, and we drive on the back of the farm, and he gets another tractor, another bulldozer, and he drives this bulldozer wide open, probably about quarter mile, maybe longer, to this spot, and flips the other one over, jumps on it, cranks it up, and back to work.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, man, flipping a bulldozer is hard to do.
Yeah.
And he flipped it, got out, flipped it back over, and just started back to work.
Dang.
Yeah. One time in the same article, I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I just moved in with him, 1981, 1982. Long, long time ago. there was a guy that was going to build a deck on the back of his lake house, and Dad told the guy he would come over there and saw this tree down that was in the way of this deck that the guy was going to build on the back of his house. So Dad, on a Wednesday between races, goes over to this guy's house, and he's like, I don't know why he took me, but he's like, you want to come along? I'm like, sure. And so I get out of the truck, and he gets his chainsaw, and I'm standing in the backyard looking up in this tree, and he climbs up this tree with a chainsaw, and he's up there, and he's sawing the limbs off, right? And he's going 15, 20 minutes, and he saws the largest part. He saws the tree in parts, right, as he's coming down, right? He's been up there 25, 30 minutes. Finally comes down. And he comes down, and his glove, he's got these tan leather old school gloves. You remember the original, like, sort of outdoor,
Yep.
And I don't even know if they make them like that anymore, but his glove was ripped across from knuckle to knuckle. Across the back of his hand was ripped. And he pulled his glove off, and his hand was wide open. Oof. Serrated from knuckle to knuckle. Bad. And I was like, my eyes are like gigantic. Like, I'm a kid, right? And he's just looking at it. I was like, I thought that had just happened, right? That the chainsaw laid on his hand and he come down because of that. And I was like, when did that happen? And he's like, as soon as I got up there.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
He was something else.
I was like,
wild.
holy smokes.
Yeah.
I mean, if that would happen to me, I'd panic.
I'm out.
I'm running
I'm out
for
the hell
weeks.
out of there.
I'm like, who's driving me to the hospital?
Exactly.
Yeah. But he's like, oh, whoops, keep
Yeah.
going,
Wow.
Well,
He's
I'm
like,
up here.
He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing.
Gosh.
But it was
That's
like,
amazing.
it was just
Built different.
like
Wide open.
wide open, but it was jagged. Like, it was not nice, and it wasn't like a nice and clean.
It looked-
Do you
know
remember
how
him?
a chainsaw
It
might
looked
do
exactly
you, right?
like
Did
a
he, like-
chainsaw.
Yes.
Did he go to the hospital after that, or
I don't remember
Just
what he did.
yeah, I'm sure.
I don't.
Oh my God.
And then he he broke his hand on that guy's face when the guy shot the deer on his property. So I
think
wrote-
I've heard that.
Yeah, so this little thing. So I write this one pager, right? And it's just like, how amazing he is, right? And I went to his office and I read it to him. And I said, Dad, I gotta read you something because I'm gonna publish this, and I don't want you to go, hey, I wish you wouldn't have done that, because it's a little personal. And I read it to him, and I said, hey, if you're okay with it, man, I'm gonna publish it in the Grand National Scene. He goes, you need to save that for a book. He's like, that's too good. I was like, all right.